Hi guys, I'm Anissa and I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to share with you a Monday reads because it's Monday and I have read 5 books over the past week, so I have 5 books to talk about today. I'm really happy with how much I read this past week actually, but let's get into the books. The first thing that I finished over the past week was Didnt Go On by Charlaine Harris. This is the 9th book in the Sookie Stackhouse series. Now, Sookie Stackhouse series has been sort of an up and downhill sort of a journey, but then this book actually came and it was better than the previous 2 books that I've been reading. If you're unaware, the Sookie Stackhouse series is a paranormal urban fantasy vampire series that follows Sookie Stackhouse. She lives in small town in Louisiana, and Sookie has the ability, because of something that is unknown in the beginning of the series, she is able to hear other people's thoughts. Humans in this world, they know that vampires exist, and vampires drink this artificial sort of drink called True Blood. And she meets Bill one day when he comes into the bar, who is a vampire, and she finds that she can't read their minds. They don't, yeah, so she becomes quite obsessed and interested in the supernatural world because of that, I guess, and is quickly swept into this whole world with both fae, vampires, and shifters all over. And at this point I can't talk much about the specific plot without spoiling what happens up until then, but I did enjoy this quite a bit. There's a lot of sort of political stuff happening. It was really action-packed, this one. I really enjoyed that part of it. I've stressed this a couple of times, but I don't really care about the romances in this one, or whatever romance there is. There's never been any one I have rooted for in that way, but I do like the sort of different characters. Like, I find them all pretty interesting in a way, and I realize that Sookie has her flaws, but I feel like at this point I actually quite like Sookie. I think it makes sense that she is acting like she is at this point with the things that she's experienced so far. Especially in this one, there was a lot of things happening, and some characters died, and it was quite rough. But yeah, as I said, I overall enjoyed this one more than the previous couple of books, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I finished was Cabbage Yogam by Pratchett. This is book 23 in the Discworld series. So I was highly anticipating this one because it's part of my 5-star prediction. I also stressed in my 5-star prediction series that the Discworld books are not always 5 stars, so I'm a little bit more picky with those, even because I compare them to other Discworld novels all the time. It's not always easy rating Discworld book when I compare them to my favorites, but this one actually ended up being a 5 stars. I had to sit on it a little bit, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the things that happened with all of the witches. We were introduced to a fairly new witch, Agnes, in this one. I feel like she hasn't been in the other ones. And I really enjoyed her character arc. It's a sort of weird war between vampires and witches in this world. So yeah, it's quite fun, and yeah, I genuinely just enjoy them and will definitely recommend them. And yeah, 5 stars for this one. And then yesterday I apparently had a reading marathon by myself, and I ended up finishing 2 books. And the first one is Charlaine and Gabby Breaks the Universe by Hernandez. This is one of the books that I had to read for the booktubesff awards. It was nominated in the middle grade category, and I didn't know anything about this book going into it. It and I definitely didn't expect this book. So this one follows Sal. Obviously, he is just newly started at this school, and he's not even spent a week, but he's already been at the principal's office like 3 times for different reasons. But yeah, and at the principal's office, while he's there with a bully, someone comes in and tries to speak the bully's case to make sure that that person doesn't get expelled, who turns out to be Gabi. And it just takes them out of this weird story. It's quite contemporary compared to what I thought it was going to be. I mean, it does have magic, but it also has science fiction actually. It's about Sal is able to do magical tricks, and the way he does it is by the use of dimensional stuff. He can reach into other dimensions to use stuff from there and pick and choose. But it causes some troubles that I'm not going to talk too much about, because I feel like it's something you should find out as you read the book. But I was super surprised about this. It was so heartwarming. Like Sal and Gabi's friendship and Sal's way of talking and being with other people in general was so something I just really enjoyed, and the dynamics with his family, his dad and his stepmom. I really loved that. And I also enjoyed how Gabi's family was introduced over the book, and she also definitely went through some difficult things over the book, and I just ended up really enjoying it. I don't know, I had a hard time deciding whether this one or The Dragon Pearl was my favorite, because I definitely enjoyed both. But as I was reading it, I almost cried while I was reading this one, and I just want to say that me crying over a book takes a lot. Like being that emotional about something, and so because of that I ended up giving this book 5 stars, and I think this is going to be my vote for the booktubesff awards this year. I highly recommend it. I was super surprised about what it was about, because I didn't know anything about it. Another book that I finished yesterday was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. This was my reread of the month, and these all covered an owl so far. All the books that I've read. The Dead and Gone covered the owl for Transfiguration, which was about shape changing. Carpe Jugulum covered the history of magic, where I where I had to read a book about witches, and I read Carpe Jugulum. And Sal and Gabi's Break the Universe was for my divination prompt, which was to read a random book of your TBR. Now, this book was also read for my reread, but also for an owl. I read this for the Astronomy Owl, which was to read a book mostly during the night time or when it was dark out. I read this exclusively in the evenings, with the exception of one very early morning, and it was not completely light yet, so I take that, and it was only like half an hour, so I did that. And yeah, okay, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, do I have to tell you much about it? It's the second book in the Harry Potter series. Harry Potter is about this boy who gets to this magical school when he discovers he has powers, magical powers, at the age of 11. I don't think I need to talk too much about the plot about Harry Potter, because the majority of people have been reading it. But I'm not gonna spoil it, because I also don't want to risk if there's someone here who hasn't read it and think they might be reading it at some point. But this one is the second year for Harry at Hogwarts, and things are definitely developing. This one has, I think it's my least favorite in the Harry Potter series. I don't know why, but it never really resonated. It was never really my favorite at all. I still think it's a good book. It's not that. And I have fun while I read it, and it definitely had a couple of fun quotes. However, I think that the first one was a little better in terms of it because it introduced us to the world. It had a lot of interesting things. And there are a couple of things in this one, obviously, that's very important to future books. But I don't know, it's just not my favorite, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know how much I should talk about this, but it was fun. It's still fun rereading them, and there was a chapter about the Death Day party I found was super ridiculous. I don't know why that was in it. I know it's not in the movie, but so I don't know why it was also in the book, so that was a little bit weird. But I don't like how black and white all of the villains are in this one, except I guess Voldemort, because he has some more to him than just being pure evil. I mean, there are things, and but I just would like there to be a little bit more. I don't even know what it is I want to say. My brain is mush. Why am I so bad at talking about books? But I'm looking forward to reading on in the series, because I know from now on I will enjoy them a lot more. There's a lot more depth to them. Some of my favorite characters get introduced, and some of my favorite characters starts to get introduced in this one. I mean, Harry is actually one of my favorite characters, just because he is generally a pretty good friend. To the majority of people, like, he is a kind person, I think, so I like him for that. But interesting rereading it, and it was an easy read. The last and final thing that I finished over the past week was today I finished Blameless by Gail Carriger. This is one of my Stacking the Series books for this month, and it's the 3rd book in the Parasol Protectorate series, and the Parasol Protectorate series follows Alexia Terbody, who is a soulless, and being a soulless, she has some sort of powers that is lethal to, like, vampires and werewolves, and like, she has this interesting umbrella that can do stuff, and I enjoy these books quite a lot. And yeah, so she is part of the, gets swept into the to the supernatural world, and yeah, overall I enjoy these books. They're quite fun. They usually are pretty easy to follow and get into, and this one, Alexia is on a bit of a travel to Italy and discovers some interesting things in terms of some food she can eat that other people can't, and stuff like that. And she's also, yeah, I don't know, I'm terrible at talking about books today. I shouldn't have been filming today because I could feel like my head was not in the right space, but I hope I can make work with this one anyway. I overall enjoy this series, and I think that Gail Carriger writes quite fun, historical, urban fantasies slash steampunk books. I don't even know what to call them, because the urban fantasy part comes in with the werewolves and vampire part of it. So I'm enjoying it quite a bit, and gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So, like, so far all of the books have been like 4 stars, and I remember now when I started this, I remember that the second book actually ended up quite a cliffhanger, but I just never picked up the 3rd book until now. But yeah, enjoyed it, 4 stars, it was great. So let's get over to what I want to read over the next week, because I just started on You Are Not Alone by Hendricks and Sarah Paganin, which is my last and final OWL for the OWLS Medical Readathon, so I'll definitely be finishing that. And it is also the book of the month, the Little Red Dead book of the month, and that is hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala. I've just been watching that, reading my, where she's reading like an Aries for a week, and I went and looked at my own star sign, and I'm so freaked out right now about how similar I am to all of the traits, like the majority of them for sure, except I think the part about cleanliness, because I mean, I do like it tidy and clean, but I am the worst at actually getting to all of that. But I am very analytical, and I am, so all of the other things about the Virgo sign is definitely very, very true. So that was weird. I always felt like it was all just some, yeah, I never really believed fully in it, because every time I read something that was part of the horoscope of the week or something, it never really fit with me. So it's not until I read this that I was actually convinced. So that's weird. So now that I am almost done with all of my OWLS, I am moving on to the remaining of my booktubesff books. I still have a few of those left. My main book of the next couple of weeks is going to be Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is the biggest honker on my TBR. It's over 800 pages. So I know it's going to be taking me like almost forever to read it. I am looking forward to reading it because I hope that I will enjoy the writing style, and I hope that I'll be sucked into this story, so that I can read it. I have 2 weeks to read this one. I won't be mad at myself if I don't get to Starsight, but I hope that I'll finish this and maybe start on Starsight. That will be the biggest achievement, because then when I get to May, I won't have very much left to read for the month, for the booktubesff awards. So I'm really confident that I'll actually almost read all of the books of my 19 book long TBR. So I'm excited about that currently, but I also still have quite a few pages, so we'll see. The booktubesff season has been postponed to go all of through May as well, because of this corona virus thing that has shut down the majority of the libraries, so people have had difficulties getting access to the books. So because of that, they have postponed it a little bit in the hopes that it will be easier for them to get to the books, so that everyone can play along. So that's why I won't be feel too bad if I haven't finished all of them, but I will try and finish them all in the beginning of May for sure, so that I don't have to think more about them, and I can move on to some other things that I've been excited to try out. So this is my main goal for the next week, and then I'm going to be reading You're Not Alone by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. Then I am going to be starting on Decaffeinated Corpse for sure, which is the last Stacking Serious books I have, and then we'll see what else I can manage this week. If I finish all of my audios, I have some library books I'd like to get to, so we'll see when I check in again. So yeah, this is everything I wanted to talk about today. Let me know in the comments down below what you've been reading over the past week. Have you found any new favorites? Have you read any of the books that I've been talking about today? Also let me know about that. I would like to know in the comments what you thought of them, if you agree with my thoughts about them. But if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye!